Buenas and half a day. Thank you everyone for joining us today. The Committee on Education, Self-Determination, and Historic Preservation, Infrastructure, Border Safety, Federal and Foreign Affairs, and Maritime Transportation will now convene this virtual confirmation hearing. Today is Tuesday, October 19, 2021, and it is currently 1700 hours. For the record and in accordance with the open government law, public notices were sent out via email to all senators, stakeholders, and all main media broadcasting outlets on Monday, October 11, 2021, and the second notice on Thursday, October 14, 2021. Notice of today's hearing is also available on the Guam Legislature's website. Joining us today for this confirmation hearing, we have Senators, the Acting Vice Speaker, Senator Shelton, and then we have Senator Telena. Thank you, Senators, for joining us today. Let me just make sure that's okay. And before we proceed, the legislature has general rules of conduct that must be followed. All must abide by the rules of conduct and quality assurance standards. Please keep your video on at all times and ensure you are in a room with little interruptions and adequate lighting, specifically to make sure your face is visible at all times. The host of this hearing will mute participants until called upon by the chair. When called to speak, please ensure that you are unmuted and that you are speaking into the microphone. Members may wish to speak via the in-app chat box. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by the chair before speaking and shall state their name for record-keeping purposes. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda, and personal inference as to the character or motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. We will now start this virtual confirmation hearing with our agenda items as listed. Dr. Lisa Kuperners to serve as a member, Ed representative to the Guam Commission for Educator Certification. Mr. David J.N. Camacho to serve as a member, retired teacher representative to the Guam Academy Charter Schools Council. Dr. Judith P. Guthertz to serve as a member to the Board of Directors of the Port Authority of Guam. Phillip L. Noret to serve as a member, architect representative to the Guam Building Code Council. And Zina S.N. Ruiz to serve as a member of the Tramoral Culture Alternate Representative of the Guam Historic Preservation Review Board. We will start with the nomination of Dr. Lisa Kuperners to serve as a member EDD representative of the Guam Commission for Educator Certification. Pursuant to 17 GCA Chapter 27, the Commission was established to provide a rigorous system of certification, professional development, and evaluation designed to support improved student achievement and to improve the quality of the Guam workforce and to improve student performance. The goal of the Guam Commission for Educator Certification is to determine whether those individuals responsible for the education of our island students are competent to perform their duties as teachers, guiding counselors, or school administrators. And the GCEC shall regulate and oversee all aspects of the certification, continuing education, and standard of conduct of public school educators. The reappointment of Dr. Lisa Kuperners to serve a 3-year term from July 6, 2021 to July 5, 2021 is a proven testimony to the commitment and responsibility to serve in her capacity as a local administrator. Dr. Kuperners contributed to Guam's education system, both in the elementary and college levels, as the current principal of BP Carbolito Elementary School and as an adjunct professor at the University of Guam. I would now like to invite those that have volunteered to give testimony on behalf of Dr. Lisa Kuperners. Is there anyone that would like to speak on her behalf? Just go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, we have Mrs. Roberta Abade. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Roberta Abadai. I'm the current chairperson for Education. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in support of Dr. Lisa Kuperners as a commissioner representing the terminal degree recipients of the Guam Commission for Educator Certification. As a member of the GCEC over the last term, She provided invaluable insights for the commissioners. Dr. Cooper-Nurse regularly attends the meetings, assists in the committees, and specifically, she is a member of the Ethics Review Committee, and through her position as an administrator in the Department of Education, is able to provide guidance to the GCEC certification process. She is professional in all her dealings with the commissioners and GCEC staff. I have worked with her in other committees for the Guam Department of Education, specifically the Teacher Evaluation Program, and can attest to her dedication and commitment to the betterment of our education system. Her reconfirmation as a terminal degree representative would be a benefit to GCEC. Speaking on behalf of the commissioners, I can state that we all value her knowledge and experience, along with her commitment to serve our educational community and the children of Guam. Please give her your kind consideration and approval of her reconfirmation as a member of the Guam Commission of Educator Certification. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Abade. Is there anyone else that would like to give testimony on behalf of Dr. Lisa Cooper-Nurse? Okay. Dr. Lisa Cooper-Nurse, I'll go ahead and call on you for your statement.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Senators. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today for my confirmation hearing. This is actually, my name is Lisa Cooper-Nurse, and I am the current commission member up for reappointment. And this would be my third term as a member of the Guam Commission for Educator Certification. I was initially confirmed back in 2015, and then my second term was in 2018, and now in 2021, this would be my third confirmation, or my third term, going on my third term. And with that, I feel like I have quite some knowledge in the work that the commission has done. This past year, we have had 3 new members to our commission. And so with that, I believe that the mix of those that have been there, as I've been there for quite some time, 6 years now, and with the new members having that knowledge and being able to give the history of what work has been done with the commission, with those who have some new ideas and insights, brings in good mix to the commission with those experience and those that have new ideas. And so again, I ask that the senators consider my confirmation for reappointment to this commission. The commission has been very busy these last 6 years. We have been hard at work recruiting an executive director. In the last 6 years, we have gone through about 3 executive directors. When Leah Santos was our director and she retired, we spent a couple of years trying to find somebody and actively recruiting. I was on that committee as well, actively trying to recruit an executive director. And then we were able to get Jesse Kingan, who's wonderful. And then when he left to the Ethics Commission, we now have Mr. Kenneth Pears. And this past year has been wonderful being able to work with him as our executive director. As a member of the commission, I have also served on a committee on the praxis review. And so very often ETS will give us information updating praxis scores. And so it's very important for us to review these scores, these recommendation cutoff scores, to ensure that we are in line and our procedures and policies are in line with the recommendations that ETS and the praxis testing gives us. And so I've worked to spend some time on that committee reviewing that. In addition, as Ms. Abade had shared, I've been on the ethics committee. And so with that, we have part of that committee, we have addressed complaints. And so we looked at concerns of misconduct and just information coming from the public in terms of misconduct and addressing any kind of complaints, possible, investigations for possible revocations of licenses and things. And so I've worked alongside my commission members in that committee. And most recently, the commission has been working on updating standard operating procedures for the commission in general. And so I've been a part of that committee as well. And so the commission has felt that it's important for us to update and create new standard operating procedures to be able to better serve our certified educators, those who are currently part of part of Guam Commission of Educator Certification who hold current licenses, and those who are just seeking general information on how to apply for a license, an initial license, or be able to upgrade their license. And so the commission has been hard at work in updating those standard operating procedures, and I have been working alongside my fellow members to do that work as well. And then I know we have quite a few confirmations, so I'll just keep it pretty short. I just have one more thing. I just wanted to share that the commission is very much committed to ensuring and holding our current certified personnel and those that are certified to the highest code of conduct. That is very important for us. And with that, our commission has felt that there's a need to do this. It's best to do that through education. And so we are a part, all of the commission members are a part of the National Association of State Directors of Teacher Education and Certification. And so with that, we have worked with the folks from, the United States and, a part of the NASDAQ to get more information, how we can better serve our educated workforce. And so with that, we have had several people come out from NASDAQ to help us and support us. And so one of those individuals by the name of John Grant, he was an investigator with the Atlanta Public Schools, and he actually worked as their state certification investigator. And so he came out and he gave some consultation to the commission members a few years ago to help us with really just kind of solidifying and just getting information about how to do proper investigations if a complaint came our way. And so we did get a lot of education and information from Mr. Brandt. And more importantly, we have also had, and the commission has actually funded an individual by the name of Frederick Lane. And several years ago, he came out to Guam to share. He was an expert in cyberbullying. And so several years ago, as you know, social media became very popular. Educators were using social media to communicate with students, to communicate with parents, or really just to communicate in general with their personal lives. And so Mr. Lane he was an author. I believe he has a few books out, but at the time he had 2 books out on cyber traps. And so the commission worked very closely with the Department of Education to have Mr. Lane do presentations and share with the DOE folks. And we also invited our charter school educators and our private school teachers to come and listen in on Mr. Lane's presentation. And he shared information on cyber traps and how educators would get in trouble, possible termination of employment, revocation of licenses, complete suspensions, or licenses suspended or revoked. And so he shared what was appropriate use of technology when it came to communicating with students or with parents, with things like WhatsApp or really just social media in general. And so that kind of education will be able to help us prevent any kind of misconduct, to be able to educate our educators, our certified educators, to know what is right and what is wrong, what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. And so that we can prevent any wrongdoing, we can prevent any kind of possible terminations or even revocations of licenses. And so the commission really is committed to educating those that are a part of our island educational workforce, not only just those who are certified, but even those who are not. And to be able to, of course, protect our students and also to hold our educators to the highest code of conduct. And so I would like to continue that work on the commission, and I do hope for a favorable outcome from our senators. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Dr. Lisa Cooper-Nurse. We appreciate your testimony today. I will now call on the acting vice speaker, Senator Shelton, for any comments or questions she has.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I don't have any questions. Dr. Cooper-Nurse, I think you covered quite a lot in your testimony. It sounds like you've been doing good work on the commission your past 2 terms, and the commission, I'm sure, will be happy to have you for another term to carry on your work and to bring your institutional knowledge and share that with the new members of the commission. So I thank you for what you're doing. I know that this is a commission that we don't hear about often, and the work that you do is quiet, but very, very important to ensure that we're giving quality education to all of the students on Guam. So I thank you for your willingness to serve, and I wish you the best of luck in this position.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. At this time, I'd like to recognize Senator Joanne Brown for joining us. Thank you, Senator, for joining us. Senator Teletaidwi, do you have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mahafa Day, Dr. Cooper Nurse, thank you so much for stepping up to the plate once again and serving the people of Guam in this capacity. I mean, sometimes it's very a thankless job, doing what you're doing, but a lot of work does get done. I noticed through your board meetings that you've been having, and I do have a question with regards to what is NASD TEC professionals. Can you kind of explain that? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it requires the board to confirm 2 individuals to go on a trip for this particular, I guess, program, or can you explain what that is?
The National Association for State Directors of Teacher Education and Certification, it's just a network of individuals, mostly those that are a part of state certification boards, professional standards boards. Guam is a little bit because we're small and it's just one. But in the states, states actually are the ones responsible for certifying individuals and educators. It's not local counties and things like that. And so there are many people. Sometimes it's the educator prep programs. So you'll have individuals who are professors of education programs, universities, colleges that have educator programs that are a part of this group. You'll have sometimes superintendents, and then of course the professional standards boards members as well. Many of them are elected in the states. And so this group comes together. But their overall goal really is to protect students. And so there's an array of things that they do. Of course, number one, of course, high standards for educators, certain things like required testing requirements, a certain amount of education. And so they come together to network and share. There are also, NASDAQ also hosts what's called the Professional Practice Institute. I believe 2 of our members are actually at that conference right now, that Professional Practice Institute. And that one's mostly focused on types of misconduct. And so it's more of the misconduct investigation, behavioral parts, conduct type of things. And so they give examples of situations where, possible revocations, what do we do about those kinds of things, and just really educating the individuals who are part of this network. So it really, there's a big database of what happened. This NASDAQ actually has a huge database of overall national certified people. So even like our commission is a part of this NASDAQ, where they know and have access to our certified on Guam. And so this becomes information overall with others. And so if the event that we had a license suspended here on Guam, or had to revoke a license from an educator, that they have that information. That individual would go off island to another place, they would have that information. So it's a network in that sense. But really the overall purpose of NASDAQ is really just to be able to students and to look out for the best interest of our students.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. And I also appreciate the fact that you are very concerned with the ethics as far as taking the training is concerned, and that all members of your board is responsible for doing that. And I see that you have addressed that within your last board meeting. And I have to admit, on your website, it's kind of outdated. If you look at the picture on the front. However, I love the photo of Governor Ed.D. up there, but you can tell it's kind of outdated. But I greatly appreciate you posting your meetings, and that's really important. I mean, transparency is number one, and for first and foremost for everyone to be able to read what you're doing and seeing who's taking these trips, and most especially who's complying with the ethics committee. I really appreciate that. I thank you again and appreciate your time and the time away from your family that you take to serve on this board. I'm sure taking a little bit of time, and it's really an effort on not just yourself but your family too. So I thank them as well. And okay, take care. Good luck to you, and you have my support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Titlegy. Senator Joanne Brown, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I certainly appreciate the interest of Dr. Cooper Nurse to once again serve another term, I guess her third term, with regards to the Educators Certification Board. And I did want to ask her, I mean, she had talked about and elaborated a bit about the work they're doing that's cyber related now, that certainly we live in the age of social media, and how do we have teachers maneuver around those issues with students, of course, because it's a whole different dynamic now. And I wanted to get her take on continuing her work with this commission, even though, as she mentioned, it's not well known by most people, but it certainly provides a very important role for certifying our teachers in our public schools. So I wanted to find out, is that something she wants to continue to expand, or is there other things she wants to add to her plate that she wants to continue to contribute in this third term that she has been appointed to?
Time we had done the cyberbullying. Yes, that was one example of outreach, and we had some pretty good funding back then to be able to do that, and we would hope to be able to continue. We do have some good ideas as a commission overall with our goals. Right now we are really focusing though on our standard operating procedures and being able to update that. And yes, as Senator Titlegy said, our website is quite outdated, and we've been working on that with the office staff and stuff, and trying to update that. And so those definitely are our priorities, because she is right, our website is outdated. But yes, I would like to continue, of course, with, like I said, the standard operating procedures, and being able to really get a good set out for our for all of our applicants and our current members.
Well, and also I appreciate, as Senator Tello had mentioned, with regards to getting the information out there. We did pass a bill earlier this year that does require that public notice. So I hope you're able to make sure you comply, so it doesn't invalidate any of the work of the commission. It's pretty standard, and I'm seeing more department and agencies and commissions comply, but it requires the agenda to be published, as well as the for the ADA information, who's the point of contact, and of course the source of payment for the advertising. A lot of commissions or committees, they end up just sending out press releases and thinking somehow that meets the public notice requirement, and the media may or may not publish it. And then, interested parties are never notified. So I hope you can also work on that to make sure that the commission is in compliance. But otherwise, I certainly appreciate your continued service in the work that you do. And you certainly have my support as well. Thank you again for your service. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Dr. Cooper Nurse, I just want to thank you for your volunteer service these past 3 terms. We see that you have moved the commission forward, and we do appreciate the code of conduct familiarization that you provide them to our educators, perhaps annually and more frequently. We all need a good reminder. So I appreciate the work that you've done and the work that you will continue to do moving forward, and thank you for your service. We look forward to your confirmation. Thank you. Okay, for the next item on our agenda, we now have the nomination of Mr. David J.N. Camacho to serve as a member, retired teacher representative to the Guam Academy Charter School Council. Pursuant to 17 GCA Chapter 12, the council was established to maintain schools that operate independently from the Guam Department of Education. The council is authorizing chartering entities that shall promulgate administrative rules and regulations of our island's charter schools. The council facilitates and monitors the operations of such charter schools in compliance with applicable laws and provisions in which meeting student academic achievement is expected, as well as tracking annual reporting requirements. The appointment of Mr. Camacho is to serve a 3-year term from August 20, 2020 to August 19, 2023. As a retired educator from the Guam Department of Education, with over 30 years of experience in the classroom, Mr. Camacho, we thank you for accepting this responsibility, and we look forward to working with you and the council. I will now see if there's anyone that is signed on to speak on behalf of Mr. David Camacho. Could you please just raise your hand? Okay. All right, Mr. Camacho, we will proceed with your testimony. Please state your name for the record. Mr. Camacho, if you would just unmute yourself. You're still on mute. Yeah. There
Am
we
I,
go.
am I good?
We can hear you now.
Okay. All right.
Thank you,
Thank you. Sorry. Anyway, my name's David John Navarro Camacho, and I've been teaching since 1985. And also I have worked with the media since 1972. So I've got a well-versed background between the, even like the public television station. That's where I first got started when I got out of high school. And then I went into teaching into the classroom after I've seen so many teachers come through public television. That's what inspired me to become a school teacher. So anyway, I've had no regrets for teaching all these years, and the only reason I stopped teaching or retired because of health reasons. So other than that, I would do my best to further the charter school program, whatever comes up, and I will make the best decision for the benefit of the program, where it relates to students and staff and whatever's needed to make the charter school be a successful program.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you done?
No, if there's any, I want to make it just simple, if any questions from anybody.
Okay. We'll start with the acting vice speaker, Senator Shelton. Do you have any questions or comments at this time?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Camacho, for your willingness to serve in this capacity. I know that you are a retired teacher, and so I'm sure you'll bring that knowledge with you to help our charter schools. And you are retired now, and I know you could be doing other things and enjoying your time, but I appreciate your willingness to serve here. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. We'll now move with Senator Telena. Do you have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair. Half a day, Mr. Camacho.
Half a day?
Half a day. I do want to thank you as well, for willing to serve on this board. I've always had this soft spot for charter schools. I particularly like to look at the end results where their scores are really high, in that line of schooling instead of the public school, the charter schools. It's actually proving itself with the test scores from the students coming from charter schools. So, I have a little soft spot for them, like I said, and appreciate the hard work that is put into this and the teachers that actually, teach at these charter schools. I know that the salaries of them are not as high as, Department of Education salaries, but and there are some benefits that they don't receive like you do in the government of Guam and public schools. However, there is a bill, Mr. Camacho, I'm hoping you have an opportunity to look at. It's Bill 161-36. It's been introduced, and I've spoken to a couple of people in the charter school who work there. And basically what it is, it requires all teachers employed at the Guam charter schools to be certified by the Guam Commission on Education. We just had Dr. Cooper Nurse here earlier from the commission. But I'm hearing that this is something that the Guam charter schools do have an issue with. And if it's something that would be required, then the government of Guam should at least provide them the funding for these teachers, if they have to be certified. So it is going to be quite controversial. I hope you can look into this. And it's Bill 161-36. So, you're on mute. You're on mute, Mr. Camacho. Yeah, you're still on mute. I do that all the time too. I don't know how many Zoom meetings I'm in, and I'm still forgetting to unmute myself.
Okay. anyway, I've seen or heard that from the news about the certification.
Yeah.
So I have a very open mind about that. I think all schools should have certification for the people that are working for the students. They should get the best, but I know management usually like to talk about funding, you know. The more you're certified, the more pay you need for these people that are certified. So I noticed through the news media that they're talking about the issue is if they're certified, then we have to pay them more, which we don't have enough pay. So we have to look into the reason we want them because we can get them cheap. And I don't, I'm not too sure if that's in the best interest of the kids. You know, we want the best teachers for whatever program they're under. So I will be looking very closely into your bill and
It's not my
you
bill.
know,
It's not my bill.
sorry, into that new bill. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely not my bill. You know, I read about it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, but I know there is a concern, and I see both sides of it. You know, those who don't want the certification and those who feel they should. But you know, as I say, if something's not broken, don't fix it. You know, and that's always been my motto. But it all depends on new ideas or new things that they discover, you know, that may be more beneficial to the students. And I too believe what's in the best interest of our students is first and foremost, like yourself, Mr.
Senator.
Camacho. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Tyree.
Thank you so much.
Senator Joanne Brown, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I did want to ask, I see, you know, that Mr. Camacho had retired from the Department of Education, and just in follow-up to the question Senator Tello had, because, you know, our whole idea in wanting to pursue the policy and putting in place the creation of these charter schools that are actually paid for with taxpayer dollars is to see if there was a better, more innovative way of teaching and educating our children and not being part of the structure of DOE, because that in and of itself over years has really built up its own institution. It costs more money to educate a child in public school than it does in most private schools on Guam. And yet we still want to continue to look at the level of performance and the level of education that our children had in terms of their success rate. And so certainly if we're seeing bigger success or better success in charter schools with the outcome of these students, I don't necessarily know that I'm supportive of wanting to restructure these charter schools to emulate DOE. Because I think the bigger the structure, the easier it is for children to get lost in that process. So I wanted to get your feedback coming from DOE. What is your feeling about that, and how do you think you can contribute, having come from another very structured institution, to contributing to actually moving forward and improving on our charter schools on the island?
Well, you know, one of the as a structured teacher, certified teacher, I know the, you know, like the conditions set to be so that we can standardize things. But look at the private school, you know, like the Catholic schools. A lot of those teachers are not certified. That's why they go to the private school. They teach there because they cannot certify with DOE. And yet a lot of those students that come from there, they become successful in college or whatever endeavor they want to get into. So like I said, I'm very open-minded towards what the needs of this charter school is going to need. So if they wanted more of a structure like certification, I would look into that. But if the certification is not as needed, you know, I'll be open to that one too, because I came from a background of jack of all trades people. You know, I'm a VocTech student. I grew up in, you know, environment where we learn from experience. So certification is just a door opener. So I'm very open-minded towards that certification deal.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, Mr. Camacho, because being certified doesn't necessarily guarantee that we're going to have students, the product of students coming out with higher test scores
Yep.
and more prepared. And you
Well,
are right. I certainly think all
from my-
teachers in private school because they can't get certified. I mean, there are a number of them that prefer that, and I'm a product of both. I spent 9 years in public school on Guam, and I've only spent 3 years in a private Catholic school. But you know, some do it because of the type of environment or the religious teachings that are there at the school as to why they may choose to teach in a private school. But you're right, some of those children come out being exceptionally good and prepared for college or whatever other interest it is they want to pursue in their life. So I mean, you know, while we're finding these are all the requirements in the structure of DOE, it does not guarantee ultimately success in the classroom and that teaching is going to be imparted in all our children. I don't know if it's because the structure is too big. And that's one of the reasons I was very supportive of the charter schools, was because we needed to have a different way. We're pouring more money into the system, but we're not seeing the leaps and bounds of improvements over the years that we would like to see. And like I said, we educate many of these children here. I mean, I'm a parent that pays tuition. But I know we're spending less than educating our child than we would be in the public school system. But the level of performance for me in observation, I'm very pleased with the product that I'm getting in the private school that my child's attending. So I appreciate the fact that you're open to that. But I would love to see the charter schools, if they are continue to be successful in what they're doing, do it in a different and innovative way, because that's what we need. I think we need more of that. I think a lot of our children are successful in the public school system, but there's also a number of them that are getting lost in that system, and many, still the rate of dropout that's still there that I think we need to be concerned about.
Yes. One of the things is, I've been teaching for such a long time. Also, I've been observing my parents, my background for education. My dad is a 2nd grade dropout. My mom is a 6th grade dropout. I'm the first person out of 12. I'm the oldest. I graduated from college all on my own. So the success of students, in my personal view, comes from the parents. A public school parent that is very attentive to their kids' needs becomes successful even though they're certified teachers. Same in private school. Private school, like the Catholic schools that I noticed, the reason they're very successful because the parents are paying. The parents are like 100% checking on their kids. It's, to me, parent participation in education is the check mark that gives success to the majority of the kids that go to school. So it don't matter about teacher certification, in my view, my personal view. But like I said, I'm open to suggestions. So, like my mom's primary when I was going to school, her only concern is for me not to be a ditch digger. So her only concern is for me to graduate from high school. So that was it. But by the time I was 7th grade, I was more educated than both my parents. So,
well, I certainly appreciate your response and look forward to your serving with the charter schools. And I hope in the future we get some feedback from you. Now that I assume, is this your first time to serve on a charter school board? Will this be the first time for you?
It's my first time to serve as a board in anything. When I was a school teacher, I was basically concentrating to be a teacher. And also I was concerned more with the working condition of teachers because I was a union steward. So that's where most of my efforts were when I was with DOE. So I was mostly fighting. I was fighting with the contract with the Board of Education to get better terms, working conditions for teachers. But at that time, my concern is for the working conditions of the teachers. If the teachers have good working conditions, then the kids get a better working condition too. So that's why I'm saying I'm very open-minded. I'm a jack of all trades guy. So for the students.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Camacho. Hopefully in the future, you can give us some insight once you've had a chance, if you're confirmed to serve on the board, and let us know. I'm just, like I said, I'd like to see more innovative ways of educating our children and do it in a financially responsible manner so that we can make sure we take care of all our kids. With that, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and certainly thank you to Mr. Camacho for being able to respond to my questions. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Senator
you're welcome.
Brown. Mr. Camacho, I would also like to thank you for offering yourself up for this type of service. You are not new in the educational sector, so you have you have the experience and the wisdom to determine a lot of the challenges and solutions that the charter schools are facing as far as the financial accountability and vendor payments. You've heard some of my colleagues speak about the upcoming charter bill school, which was submitted by our Youth Congress. And so we will have a hearing regarding that. And just whatever advocacy that our charter schools need, we appreciate you accepting this type of responsibility for that. And so we look forward to your confirmation, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the nomination of Dr. Judith P. Guthertz to serve as a member to the Board of Directors of the Port Authority of Guam. Pursuant to 12 GCA Chapter 10, the board was established to direct the ports of Guam in its powers and duties, facilitate and maintain administrative rules and regulations of its operation and the conduct of its affairs, review and evaluate the planning, promotion, and construction development, alteration and maintenance of the port's facility, and manage its compliance in accordance to the law and provision of Guam's seashore jurisdictions and the border safety of our island's ports of entry. The appointment of Dr. Judith Guthertz is to serve a term of 3 years from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2023. Her experiences in public safety as the former director and acting chief of police and the former chairperson of Homeland Security of the 30th Guam Legislature, Dr. Guthertz's contributions to the board may help navigate through carrying out the safety of our island's ports of entry. At this time, I believe we do have some members of the board of the Port Authority that I am anticipating that they would give some testimony. So I see you, General Manager Roy Respicio. Can you? You're welcome to give any testimony on behalf of Dr. Guthertz. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for doing this. If you agree, I'd like to defer to the chairman and the board members. Then I could just give a brief statement from Louis, Dominic, and I. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Santos.
Buenas, Madam Chair and members of the committee. It is a great honor to come before you this evening to support the nomination of Dr. Judy Guthertz. And also want to thank the governor for making a great choice of appointing Dr. Judy Guthertz to serve as one of the board members for the Port Authority. I know Judy for many, many years during the Ricky Budali administration. She's been in the public service for many, many years. Her qualification, the capacity, unfounded. What more can we say about her? And I know and I believe that she will be a great help in the port in also working together to make sure that the port continue to move forward. Especially we have many projects ahead of us. Even during these trying times, the port never been closed. The cargo is still going out to supply the needs of the people of Guam, and I'm very proud of our port employees and our management, that our port employees are dedicated in their work, especially during these trying times. And I believe Dr. Judy Guthertz will also share her knowledge, her capacity to work as one team, just to make sure that the port will continue to move forward. And I cannot find any negative on Dr. Guthertz, all positive for a public service. She's a great lady, and I respect her, and I welcome her to join us in the board. And I'm asking you, Madam Chair, and your members of the committee to please find favor on Dr. Judy Guthords to be confirmed as one of the board members for the Port Authority of Guam. Thank you and Sizus Masu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf? Okay, Mrs. Harris.
Good day, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I am Dorothy Harris. I'm a member of the Board of Directors. When we speak of ethics in government, Dr. Guthertz pretty much wrote the book on that for the government of Guam. During her tenure at UOG, she has educated, groomed, and polished professionals throughout the government of Guam in the area of public administration. Dr. Guthertz's record of public service at the University of Guam, as a former elected member of the Guam legislature, the Board of Education, and the Consolidated Commission in Utilities. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of how this woman has served us. Speaks for itself. She is an accomplished, and dare I say, and I would venture to say personally, a beloved member of the community. And she will most certainly be a valued member of the Port Authority of Guam's Board of Directors. It is with great respect and great admiration that I wholeheartedly support Dr. Guthertz's nomination to the Port Authority of Guam Board of Directors. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Harris. Is there anyone else that would like to give testimony? Okay, I think.
Yes,
Okay, Mr. Timinglow, please proceed.
thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Nate Timinglow, current Vice Chairman of the Port Authority of Guam. I'd like to testify in support of Dr. Judy Guthertz. My time with Dr. Judy Guthertz started, like many people on Guam, as a student. She's a close family friend, and I think I was glad to also serve on a board with her when we were board members together on the Guam Visitors Bureau. A bunch of years back, and her time as as an educator for so many years, as director of public safety, just a staunch advocate for students, and I've seen it firsthand, and I think her passion and willingness to serve the community is unending, and I think for others to follow her her path. I hope that many others would step up, and I think she'd be a great value add to our board, and she would also round out and complete our board, which is also crucial to our operations at the port, and full support, and I hope that the committee will approve her, and open to any questions or comments. But thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Timinglow. Is there anyone else that would like to give testimony? Okay, General Manager Ruiz.
Thank you again, Madam Chair, for holding this confirmation hearing for Dr. Guthertz. I'm Ruiz for the record, General Manager, Port Authority of Guam, and with me,
Louis Baza, the Deputy Director for Finance and Administration. Thank you.
Yeah, and Dominic Munya, the Deputy General Manager for Operations, also watching these proceedings. We're just here to show support. Thank you for the hearing. Ask for a unanimous consent. Thank the governor for the appointment to fill the 5th vacancy on the board. And together with Director Koki, who is the Secretary of the board, is also present. But we just want to show support for Senator Guthertz, and we stand by to answer any questions you or your colleagues may have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, General Manager Respicio and Louis, for joining us. Is there anyone else? Okay, Dr. Guthertz, you may go ahead and proceed with your testimony. Welcome. Press unmute. You're still on. You're still muted. Maybe the host can unmute you. Let's see.
There
There
we
we
are.
go.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you kindly for your help. I want to say good evening to the committee chair, Senator Nelson, and to all the other senators here this evening. It's great to see you all, Senator Tello, Senator Shelton, Senator Brown, everyone who's here from the legislature. And I want to commend you for having these Zoom hearings under the current circumstances that we find ourselves in, and we've been in for the last 2 years. Being able to really use this technology to continue citizens' participation in our government is a wonderful thing. And I know the public watches these hearings, and they also appreciate having access to all the different platforms that the legislature makes available to them. So they can listen in and maybe somehow direct questions at the appropriate time or place to our individuals up for confirmation or testifying on bills or just watching our senators in action. I also want to thank the members and the chairperson of the Port Authority Board for participating in the hearing tonight, and also the executive leaders of the port, Mr. Respicio and former Senator Respicio, and also Mr. Baza and Mr. Munya. Thank you for being present. You know, a few months ago, I had to leave the CCU as an elected member, and I know many people were very curious about that. I didn't talk about it very much, but I had a family member that was very ill. And just like any family on Guam, growing up on Guam, when something serious happens that requires a lot of attention, I knew what my priorities had to be. So I left the commission with great sadness. But on the other hand, I was able to join other family members to assist a younger family member who became very ill. And I'm happy to say that she is recovering. She's a teacher on the island as well. And she's the daughter of my brother. So we came together and we assisted in that need. And that has occupied my time outside of my teaching. That's what I've been focusing on for the last few months. And our efforts, particularly under this condition of the pandemic, it wasn't because of the pandemic that she was ill. But even with the conditions, so serious as they are and have been on the island, we were still able to help her and help her on the road to recovery. So we're very happy about that. And I'm sure you're wondering, and I wanted to share that with all of you. I did prepare written testimony for members of the committee and the legislature at large regarding this nomination. I'm not going to read all of it to you, but I want to say to you that when the governor and the lieutenant governor asked me to take on this appointment, you know, I thought about it carefully, and I asked myself, how could I contribute to what is already happening at the port to help make it even better than it has become. You know, many people over the years, many administrations over the years have contributed to the Port Authority of Guam. And now it is celebrating over 40 years of expansion and service to the people of Guam, with the employee complement of over 368 employees, doing so much with the manpower they have to keep this island's economy moving, to keep goods flowing to our people, all kinds of goods, not just consumer goods, but emergency goods needed for this pandemic, medical goods, pharmaceutical goods, all kinds of things. It's really amazing. And I think what makes the port operate well Of course, the leadership has a lot to do with it. There's no question. And we have good leaders now, and we have had good leaders in the past. But what makes it work are really the employees of the port, the rank and file employees. And in order to make a decision on what I would do, whether I would accept the nomination, for a few days, I drove up to the port just to observe things a little bit. Of course, there are areas there that are restricted, and I didn't ask permission, and I didn't tell anyone why I was visiting the port. But what I saw were very busy employees at the port, working together in teams, working together in all kinds of duties, and keeping things connected, so that not only were goods moving, but the employees were working together to accomplish their mission. I didn't hear any employee that I happened to talk to complain. I didn't hear any gripes or gripe sessions. What I heard was optimism and, frankly, a little peace. There was peace at the port, and it rubbed off on customers. I did have one interaction because I had to deal with the customs office one day for something I had brought into the island. And they were very happy about their expanded role at the port and their ability to do things a little differently with some changes in policies. They were even happy to be where they were. They're in the administration building with face-to-face customer interaction, processing documents, leveling fees for importations, which is very important for our government and for the port, and just executing their duties. And they are not employees of the port. We know that. There's a separate department, but they seem to be working well with the administrative structure at the port and interacting with the employees at the port where they have to work together. I asked myself, then how could I possibly help the port? We have experienced members of the board. We have a very experienced chairperson, Mr. Santos, who I also respect very much for his years of public service. What I think I can do to help the port really, actually in some ways is similar to what I did when I was with the CCU. And one of the things I worked on with Commissioner Michael Chaco and former Commissioner George Bomba was to help set up a cybersecurity division within the Guam Power Authority and Guam Waterworks Authority. And I have to tell you that working on that, we did a lot of research together with the computer IT folks at GPA and GWA. And we finally decided that it's time for us to set up and authorize the establishment as part of the administrative structure of our utilities, a cybersecurity division, which would service both water and power. Because of the sensitive information that our utilities maintain, meaning our ratepayers' information, we didn't want to see any hacking with reference to that kind of information. In addition, we were concerned about recent hackings of electrical power grids in the states that shut down power in some locations in the states where communities lost power for a period of time because of being hacked. We are very vulnerable to that. At that time, we felt we were very vulnerable. This was about 2 years ago. And so we worked hard together. Mr. Bomba, then after him, continued working with Michael and Chaco, and worked with the general managers of the two agencies, GPA and GWA, to get our cybersecurity unit in place. In addition, to support that effort, I was able to work with the university to arrange an internship system for students at the university who are now involved in our new cybersecurity minor and certificate program. so they can intern with the GPA and GWA cybersecurity division, because this is a very special area of IT, information sciences, and requires us to develop a core of individuals that can be employed in these sensitive agencies that deal with information that is critical and in need of protection because of the nature of the missions of these instrumentalities of government. It may be time also for our Port Authority to look at this necessity. I don't know how far it has gone in this direction, but I think I can be helpful there in supporting the in supporting that initiative if it's needed, based on the experience I had at the CCU. I also would like to maybe help out at the CCU. I chaired the Internal Audit Committee for the board. And there were a number of things that we had to deal with in our Internal Audit Committee. The process that was developed with the approval of the board and executed by management of our utilities was to have a complaint system where individuals, either employees or people from the outside, could register complaints about what they felt was inappropriate activity at our utilities, ranging maybe from procurement to illegal hookups of power and water and things of that nature. So we supported the internal audit unit of the power and water companies to establish a procedure to investigate complaints. And as chair of that committee, my responsibility was to ensure that the internal auditors of the agency, both GPA and GWA, if there was a problem, complaints were made, that the board would know about it, and that if it was necessary at some point, the board would be involved in ensuring that these complaints were investigated and properly dealt with. The internal auditors could come to the internal audit committee of the board and the CCU commission and share their research and ask for support. And we would assist management to ensure that management was addressing these kinds of issues in a timely manner and in a manner that was acceptable. Another thing that I worked on and previously with the CCU that I think I might be able to be helpful with at the Port Authority is this emphasis on accountability and transparency. Wherever it's needed, I'm not saying it's needed. I think we've seen a lot of good things happening. And I've listed some of the things that I was able to research and find that is very good that's going on at the port. But I'm also very sensitive to some of the issues that the CCU experienced, particularly some controversies that developed in some meeting activities that maybe did not fully follow the open government law. I'm a proponent of open government. I was never cited by the Attorney General's office for violating the open government law as a member of the CCU. We've had a few members that were caught in some kind of complaints for previous actions that I was not involved with. But I also contributed to remedies by helping to rewrite the board rules and regulations together with a CCU member, Lim Chaco. We revised the board rules, the standard operating procedures of the board to ensure it complies with all aspects of the open government law and reporting of information to the public following other laws of the government of Guam. So I'm not saying that's a need, but I'm available, I think, as a board member to help in that area if necessary, because I've had experience doing it. with the CCO. Now, professionally, I'm still a teacher. I teach at the University of Guam on a limited term basis. And I'm very proud of being able to be an educator even now. Prior to helping the university on a limited term basis, I actually went to the School of Education and took all the teacher certification classes that were required, and then took the praxis exams 1 and 2 to get certified as a teacher. And I taught at Antolon Middle School for a year, and I taught at Tijuana High School for a year and a half. This is since leaving the legislature. And then I taught at my alma mater, the Academy of Our Lady, for 2 years. So I've been doing different things to experience different aspects of our island that I had not done before. I had never taught at DOE in the past. I'd never taught at the Academy of Our Lady. I was a student there, but I never taught there. And all of these things have opened up my eyes to many possibilities and to a thirst to still help our community. I'm not a person that seeks luxuries. I'm not a person that is interested in power. I'm just a person that wants to see our government succeed and do its very best for all the people of our island. And if I'm given the opportunity and the blessing of our legislature to serve as a member of the Port Authority, I will ensure that that is my focus, to make sure that the board continues to serve the people and is wise about financial expenditures, which has been looking at their financial reports, and that the leadership there is accountable, not just to the board, but to the people of Guam and to the future leaders of Guam. And I think there's a good team there that has shown that it's able to do that. So I would like to help them even further meet that particular goal of making sure the port is an important part of Guam's future and continues to respond to the needs of our people. I think everything else I have included in the written testimony. It's 3 pages, so I didn't want to read it. But I just wanted to share with you that I'm very optimistic about our island's future. I'm optimistic about how Guam continues to be a very unique and special place. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I grew up here. I was 3 months old when I first came to Guam, and I only left for college, and really has never left since I came back from college. And I'm very honored to be allowed to call Guam my home. So I'm in the mode of just wanting to do good and helping where I can help. No personal agendas, no special interests represented in me. I have no conflicts of interest. I'm a single person. I support myself. I really am not involved in any active businesses other than education. And sometimes I do some educational consulting. That's me. So what you see is what I am. That's what I am. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Guthertz. Acting Vice Speaker Shelton, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
Thank you so much, Chairwoman, for the opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Guthertz, for your testimony, and to everyone from the port, from the board, and from the management at the port, Siduos Masi. It's an exciting time there. As we just kicked off Port Week, and to see you here today, willing to serve on the board to assist with all of the good work that's happening down there. I want to thank you very much for being willing to do that. I know you still have a lot on your plate. You're still very busy. I have students coming to me all the time
Yes.
with your questions from your class. So I know that you're busy, but ready to take on the job. So thank you for that. And I'm sure that all of your experience and your expertise will be a very good complement to the board. help them with the work they're doing there. I was going to ask you, reading your testimony, you did so much research about the work of the port and all of their accomplishments. I wanted to hear personally about some of your vision for the port, but I think you really told us a lot about your work from the CCU and all of that experience and the ideas you have for the port. So we covered everything for my questions. I want to thank you so much. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. Senator Brown, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and certainly thank you also to Dr. Guthertz for her interest in wanting to serve on the Port Board. I certainly was very interested. I know she covered a lot of answers to questions that I had, but I did want to ask her to elaborate maybe a little further. I appreciate her, certainly with cybersecurity. There's no doubt there's going to be tremendous benefits because of the new world we live in, and the changes that physical boundaries are no longer what exists in the cyber world. And certainly I think that'll be a tremendous asset to the port. With regards to the issues of the internal audit that we're able to put in place of utilities, I mean, and much as we've seen over the years how GPA and GWA have excelled from where they were, obviously there are always issues. I mean, there's sometimes it's not always part of the whole organization, but you always sometimes have individuals, unfortunately, that choose to not be responsible, choose to use and abuse positions to which they have been entrusted. If you put something in place like this, how would employees or anyone else who relay any issues or about the port or the operations, how could that be relayed to you if you were to have the board support creating such a committee and you were to oversee it, that they would not have to reveal their identity? Because obviously, too, Dr. Guthertz, you've been in this for many years. There's always retribution. There's always ulterior agendas, and people that have power sometimes have a tendency to abuse it and will strike those very individuals. And most people are just trying to go to work for a living. Like you said, you're not there to look for power or ambition. I wish everyone was like that, but they're probably why you've been so successful all the years you've been teaching students, these important values. But how would they be able to communicate if they had concerns or issues? They could be from, private companies, shipping. Could be an employee.
Well, Senator, if I may, let me answer you. And I apologize for the phone ringing. I turned it off, but it seems to keep going on. Anyway, well, what we did was, for our internal audit committee, the committee members were myself as chair when I was with the commission, and then we also had Senator Lim Chaco and also Senator Simon Sanchez. We were the three members of the internal audit committee, and we made it very clear, first of all, to management that this committee was going to be operating regularly. We would hold meetings every month, and that we would help set up the guidelines from the perspective of the board or the commission to ensure that the committee would be accessible to the internal auditors of GPA and GWA. And that management would be expected at the highest level, the general managers would be expected at the highest level to support the work of the internal auditors of both GPA and GWA. Now, we are very fortunate because we have very competent internal auditors in both agencies. And if something happens at GWA that requires a special audit, the internal auditor from GWA can ask for the assistance for the GPA internal auditor to conduct the audit in order to ensure there's independence and freedom to really conduct an audit without any restrictions. And that has worked. That has worked well. Also for the employees know that they can, if they want to file a complaint, they can file a complaint with their name, or they can provide information for the internal auditors to look at and to determine for themselves if there's really something wrong or not. Now, in a number of the cases the internal auditors worked on at GPA and GWA, they found that the complaints and or allegations were not accurate or not valid. The findings showed that in a number of cases that what was said was not, in fact, the facts. In other situations, some of the complaints turned out to be pretty accurate. And at that point, the internal auditors report that information to the internal audit committee. And the internal audit committee meets with management and ensures that management takes the appropriate action. And they have. So we're like a backup to the internal audit function at the two utilities. You know, these two utilities, they are very progressive. We've seen significant improvements. GPA and even GWA is coming along really well. And the reason this occurs is because of trust within the agencies, and where employees feel if there's something that's not right and they're not getting the right attention to something they think's wrong, they can go to the internal auditors and report it. And then the internal auditors will conduct their research and their audits, and they will be backed up by the board if action is necessary. And the management knows that. So it's all based on the procedures that are laid out, the rules of the internal audit function that we helped contribute to develop, by the way. Of course, you have to understand that members of the CCU board, they're very experienced. Many of them are business people, and they do deal with internal audits all the time in their businesses. So of course, they want to make sure that similar principles are honored and applied in GPA and GWA, and they should also be applied elsewhere in the government where they're needed. Now, I'm not claiming that there's anything wrong at the port where we need to have special efforts for internal audits, but I think it's something that should be standard in any government entity, especially an autonomous entity, to bring public support and trust in what goes on in these entities. Transparency is very important, and the ability to handle complaints professionally, substantiate or not substantiate the allegations or the complaints, and resolve them. I've been very disappointed, frankly, in the law enforcement community and how they've handled complaints regarding internal actions of employees where the public never knows what discipline, if any, was ever administered. I don't know when that law changed, Senator Brown, maybe you can help me, but I recall when we were senators that the disclosure of information about misbehavior became public after final adverse action occurred. And when final adverse action, then the public is allowed to know what happened, and it's responsibility of the head of an agency to disclose that. Somehow that changed in the Guam Police Department, where they don't do that anymore. They simply say a discipline action was taken, but we're not at liberty to disclose it because it's a personnel matter. I'm not sure the law says that. My interpretation, unless the law was amended, is that it becomes public at the point of discipline being finalized, if justified, and the employee being informed of the discipline. You may want to check that in the law.
Well, we'll look at it. I don't disagree with you. I think there's definitely a need to address that, because I think we're getting to the point that there's such a shield that's been built around the government that it doesn't have me. And you're right. I mean, if changes were made, they've been made since our time, because I don't agree with that. Everyone who's a public official who's hired and paid for by the people of Guam or the ratepayers of Guam, to me, should be accountable. Right. So I'm totally with you with that. But I think as time will go on, I know with your expertise that you're going to bring to the port, I mean, you have your own awareness. Things will surface in due time. Everything can look wonderful on the surface, and everyone's going to put on the presentation. But in time, you know, you'll see the cracks. And I think it's just a question of do the people around you feel comfortable? Do they think they have trust as well? That if they have concerns, that they have a means of being able to bring that to light without retribution, especially if it is against management. That's the reality. any
Sure.
structure that you have. So I certainly hope you will bring that. One thing that was brought to my attention, I wanted to ask you because it's right up your alley with regards to your expertise, certainly former chief of police, was concerns that were brought up by Port Police that they've been relocated to the original building. They used to have their own building there that was next to the to do their operations from. And I have heard that they are concerned. Some of them are concerned that's been relayed. They've been relocated and then they've been relocated again, and concerned about their ability to perform their job and have the access to the resources that they need to operate. And so I hope that there, that's something with your expertise that you can look into, because that for me is, I get calls all the time. And that was one thing that was recently brought up about just the fact that they were moved out of their respective building, which probably from your knowing being law enforcement probably was best that they were segregated and separated from data operations and administration of the port, just because of the kind of work they're involved in and what they're engaged in. So hopefully.
Well, I certainly will ask about it, and whether it was for enhancement of operations. I would like to know, since you brought it up. So I will ask about it, and I'm sure I'll get a response and be able to feel whether it's a good move or not. But, I also respect, I must tell everyone, I do respect the prerogatives of management. I'm not a micromanager. I don't intend to be, but I am a careful observer. And if I see something I think needs a little attention, I will bring it up to management. Say, this is something you need to be aware of and you need to consider and determine whether some kind of intervention is needed or some kind of clarification or action is needed. I will do that. And I think that's part of our role, not to interfere, but just share observations, share information that may not be known to those who have responsibilities over certain parts of the operations at the port, or the administrative actions of the port, or the general manager's duties. So yeah, I always say what I think, and I'll do that at the port as well if I'm there.
I appreciate your candor and certainly look forward to seeing if you're able to successfully implement, because I think those are very good programs, and I kind of agree with you. I think they should be standard throughout the government of Guam, because we certainly wouldn't want public officials to be abusing their position and the trust and confidence that they're being given for any other reason other than to do their jobs successfully. So with that, Dr. Guthertz, thank you. Certainly look forward to your work, and thank you very much, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to ask these questions.
Madam Chair, can I contribute just one more piece of information? I'm kind of proud of this, and I want to share it with all of you, especially the members of the legislature, because, I think it was earlier this year you amended the Guam ethics law. And the amendment was to require all classified employees of the government of Guam to undergo ethics training. Up until then, it was only the elected officials, the appointed officials, board and commission members that were required to undergo ethics training. Now, in helping the Ethics Commission stand up, this is the first time that it's ever stood up since it was first established by law in the 90s. No governor ever worked to appoint people to serve on the Government of Guam Ethics Commission. The current governor did. She appointed members to the Ethics Commission. They identified an executive director. They are operating, be it with a very small budget, but they are starting. And they've been working with the School of Business and Public Administration to resume ethics training in the government of Guam. And I'm very proud to say that the School of Business has entered into an arrangement to help the Ethics Commission initiate ethics and public service training throughout the government of Guam to all classified employees starting in November. And the initial agreement is that the training would be open to all GovGuam employees who are required to take the training. Initially, it'll be face-to-face in the School of Business Lecture Hall every Friday from 8 to 12 noon. The workshops will begin. And they'll run all the way through May. And then in May, there'll be a reevaluation because we've been asked to also help them to deliver this training digitally so participants can take it on the internet complete all the requirements, take the assessment test, and actually get their certificate of completion electronically without having to actually do it at a certain time. They could do it anytime they're free, take the 4 hours of required training and pass a little assessment test to be certifiable that they've completed the training. And the university's computer center is working with School of Business and Public Ad to develop the IT modalities that will make this possible for the Ethics Commission. Because to do this, they're talking about 11,000 employees that are going to be required to take this training over the next few years. And so we're going to try all avenues. We're going to have face-to-face, or we'll have the option of training on the internet, or maybe both. So I wanted to let you know, because the senators were the ones that amended the law in a very positive way the last year or so, and it's beginning to show fruition. And I think that will help improve conduct in the public service and remind our public employees that they should be very proud for having the privilege to work for the people of Guam, that it's a privilege to work for the people of Guam, and they need to be motivated. And taking the ethics training is not negative. This training is very positive. It's a positive experience. And that's going to be shared with our GovGuam employees in a more intense manner, because the Ethics Commission is now assembled, because they're working with local resources, as financially humble as possible, you know. And we've worked this out through the School of Business and Public Ad at UOG with the Ethics Commission to assist them.
Thank
So
you,
you're
Dr.
hearing
Guthertz.
it first. You're hearing it first.
Thank you, Dr. Guthertz.
Yeah.
Senator Telotidegui, do you have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I will keep this short. I wanted to make sure that I jumped on and say what a great loss the Utilities Commission is had with your leaving. But what an amazing addition to the Port Authority to have you on board. It really, you know, I don't know about anyone other than former Senator Roy Respicio. I've had the privilege of serving with you in the legislature, and had the opportunity to work with you, especially when it came to ethics. You know, and we went through our own situation at the legislature, and I watched how you handled it, and you were very diplomatic, and that basically put you number one in my list when people asked who's your favorite senator in the 30th Guam legislature. And I said, well, if there was anybody I can trust to not turn a blind eye and to be fair, was Senator Judy Guthertz. You know, and I thank you for mentoring me during that time to understand the importance of ethics, transparency, accountability, and all those things that you taught me, you know, Dr. Guthertz. I'm like one of your students, though I didn't take a class. We did it we worked together hand in hand in the legislature.
Yes, we did. We did, yes.
And I enjoyed every moment of it. And I want to say, please, you know, I hope you maintain that, not turning a blind eye, questioning when things are not looking right or even sounding right, or on paper, you know, not looking right, that you will say something. I think you will. And that's why I have confidence in you. But please, you know, if there's anything I can do as well, my door is always open, and look forward to your confirmation. And I wish you the very best. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very much, Senator Tello. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Tidegui. Dr. Guthertz, I want to thank you for committing your life to service and still forging forward to utilize your expertise and your knowledge and your wisdom to contribute to our community. It's always a pleasure working with you and speaking with you. You have a wealth of wisdom that you can offer us youth and also the members within the management at the Port Authority of Guam, who, by the way, have been doing a very good job at leading the agency forward. Yeah. And so I want to thank all of our port employees for their continued hard work and the leadership that that the port has for continuing to move the agency forward, providing services to our island. We could not survive without their outstanding efforts. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
And so
Senator.
now, thank you. And so we look forward to your confirmation.
Thank you.
So now we will move to the item. Our next nomination is of Mr. Phillip L. Noret. Hope I said that right. To serve as a member architect representative to the Guam Building Code Council. Pursuant to 21 GCA Chapter 67, the council was established to serve as a review board for proposed updates and amendments to the Guam Building Code, and as an appeals board for disputes related to orders, decisions, or determinations relative to the application and interpretation of the Guam Building Code. The appointment of Phillip Noret to serve a term of 5 years from April 18, 2021 to April 17, 2026. His experience with architecture and construction will contribute to the goals of the Guam Building Code Council. I would now like to invite anyone who would like to speak on behalf of the appointment of Mr. Noret. Just please raise your hand. Okay, we will move forward with the testimony with Mr. Noret. I hope I'm saying your name right. Go ahead and state your name for the record. Sorry if I'm butchering it.
It's close. It's Phillip Norray. I've been a registered architect on Guam since 1992. I'm here because I had a lot of my fellow AIA members encouraged me to take this job because I have a lot of experience designing buildings on Guam, and I have I'm very knowledgeable in the building codes. Building codes aren't your most exciting discussion item for all of you, probably, but they're very important for the safety of people in buildings here on Guam. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I look forward to serving on the Code Council. They've made a lot of advancements, and hope to help them continue on with that.
Thank you, Mr. Norray. So now I'll call on my colleagues. Vice Speaker Shelton, do you have any comments or questions for Mr. Norray at this time?
Madam Chair, thank you very much, Mr. Norray, for accepting this appointment, for being here today, your willingness to serve in this capacity. I'm reviewing your packet. I haven't had the opportunity to meet you, but I see that you do have a business interest with an architect firm. And so I wanted to ask you, in the event there is any conflict of interest in this position you're being appointed to with your current business, how will you handle that situation?
Well, I have to excuse myself from any discussion on our business. I don't see that ever happening, but yes, I'd have to excuse myself from being involved in that discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Acting Vice Speaker. We will now call on Senator Brown. Do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Norray?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask Mr. Norray, I look at this, it must be your first term to serve on this board. What would you like to contribute? What would you like to see improved, if anything, with regards to your service if you're confirmed by the Guam legislature?
Well, I'd like to see us move on to right now we're still in the 2009 building code. I'd like us to advance to, I think currently we're at 2018. I don't know if 2021 has come out yet. So that would be one of the items I would be looking at, is to advance to the new codes. There's a reason for new codes, because there's something they found during the years. I mean, all codes are based on something that happens. Fires or et cetera caused a lot of code changes. So I would like to see us advance to new codes.
Well, I certainly appreciate your response. 2009 was quite some time ago. So we look forward to your leadership and your involvement with that. And thank you very much for accepting the appointment to serve. Because certainly it's a critical commission. Most people are not aware of it or concerned with it. But if things were to go wrong, if you mentioned in a building, I'm sure you'd be at the top of their list. So thank you very much. I appreciate your straightforward comment.
Thank
With that,
you.
Madam, any further questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Okay, Mr. Norray, I just want to thank you for volunteering for this service. We look forward to your expertise and absolutely updating our building codes, all within reason.
Right.
And and so we look forward to your confirmation and thank you for your time here today.
Thank you.
Now, thank you very much. The last item on our agenda is a nomination of Zina S.N. Ruiz to serve as a member, Tramoral Culture Alternate Representative of the Guam Historic Preservation Review Board. Pursuant to 21 GCA Chapter 76, the board was established to provide advice and consent with the rules and regulations and guidelines to implement the Guam Register of Historic Places. The goals of the board is to offer knowledge in historic preservation, as well as in the principles of history, prehistoric and historic archaeology or architecture, and of traditional Chamorro society and culture. The appointment of Zina Ruiz to serve a 4-year term from March 21, 2021 to March 21, 2025 as the current executive director of I Para I Probetsu I Tautauta Incorporated. Her experience in Chamorro culture will be benefiting the duties and responsibilities of the board. Ms. Ruiz, I appreciate your willingness to serve in this capacity. Thank you for accepting this nomination, and we will now go around to see if there's anyone that would like to give testimony on your behalf. Mr. Kanata, you're recognized.
First, gotta unmute myself. Buenas, good evening, Madam Chair, Senators. My name is Joe Kinata, the Chief Program Officer of the Guam Preservation Trust. And on behalf of the Guam Preservation Trust Board of Directors and staff, we would like to support Zina Ruiz with a very strong recommendation to serve as a Chamorro culture alternate on the board of directors for the Guam Historic Preservation Review Board. And as you are aware, the board members of the review board automatically in turn become members of the Guam Preservation Trust. And that's why I'm here today to give that support. And Zina is no stranger to the preservation community. She has been so close to the cultural organizations in Guam and represent them many times and in different capacities. Additionally, her confirmation, Zina takes on the position led by our former board member, Nicole Cavo. And quite ironically, she was there at Ms. Cavo's confirmation hearing to testify in favor of her, in favor of supporting Ms. Cavo for the board. She now sits here, and I am now supporting her for that board. But she represented the Iprobetsun Itautauta and Inetnon I Mafat Naugin Bailan CHamoru. And so that's really how close she is to the Chamorro culture. And in this regard, that's what I know, that Zina is really familiar with the preservation of the Chamorro culture. And it's all about what steps, she knows all about what steps is needed to ensure that historic preservation remains both sensitive and supportive of the needs of living out our Chamorro heritage. I'm happy that Zina has accepted the public call to continue serving our community as a member of the Guam Historic Review Board, and I am confident that Zina will work well with the Guam Historic Division, Resource Division, and our office to ensure that historic and cultural resources remain protected and that advocacy for the greater understanding of Guam's history in our community remain a priority. And again, I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight in support of Zina with the board appointment. Thank you again, Sizus Masi.
Thank you, Mr. Kanatsa. Is there anyone else that would like to give testimony? Okay, I think you have a couple of supporters, Ms. Ruiz. And so just go ahead and unmute yourself and you may present your testimony. Thank you.
Hafide, Sizus Masi. Hafide, Senora Chair, Telena Nelson, and Senator Sia. Guahu, Zina, San Nicolas Ruiz, Hagan Vicente, and Diana Meno San Nicolas, Familin Pompadu, Dono, Butsi, and Familin Tisu. Kahulu Zu Gizamalolu, Gisan Hidung Yeseng in Alahan. Guaha Uno na Teluhu, si Vincent San Nicolas. Omasagwadu, and si Ron Ruiz, who poksai quatrina famaguan, imas patgun as Zachariah, ifanaguhu. By continua gifanangispago. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit of myself. I am Zina. I'm a Tramoral woman, a wife, and a mother. I grew up in the outskirts of Inalahan, up the hill in Malolo. My parents raised me with Chamorro values and traditions. My father was a pescador. My mother is still a tetsa. I grew up surrounded with people who respected each other. I was taught to appreciate harvest of the land and sea and not to waste food and water. I contributed to spiritual formation by volunteering at San Isidro Catholic Church and was the Escuela en Pali CCD director a little over 10 years when in my teenage years. Having been a member of Gumat Tautotano, I have been privileged to travel and represent Guam at 6 festivals of Pacific arts and many other festivals of indigenous peoples. Key takeaways at these cultural gatherings was that I need to be responsible in the survival of CHamoru. I am also a member of Iinetnon Iman Fafatnot Gwynbailan CHamoru, cultural practitioners who dedicate themselves to the preservation of Chamorro language and culture. And I presently serve our community as the executive director of Para y Probeton y Tautauta Inc., PIPIT, which is a nonprofit cultural organization whose mission is to support community organizations and members that promote the preservation of Chamorro language and culture. I am humbled of this appointment as member to Guam Historic Preservation Review Board. Saina Maasi, Tui Magahagan Guahan, Saina Lourdes Leon Guerrero for having confidence in me to serve the people of Guam in this capacity. I love this land, Itanota, and I am proud of its history, which encompasses thousands of years before me. With your confirmation, I hope that I can also contribute to preserving history, pari in my mamaila, the future. Sana maasi guahosi Zina.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ruiz. We'll now call on the acting vice speaker, Senator Shelton, if she has any comments or questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mrs. Ruiz, and to your family and your supporters here. Sizus Masi for being here this evening. And thank you for accepting this nomination to the board. I think, I've seen you in many events throughout the island and witness your passion for the Chamorro culture and language. And I think that you'll be a perfect fit for this board. Everything that you've shared, that you really have so much respect and love for our culture and our history. So I look forward to the good work that you'll do in this position. Sizus Maasi.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. Is there any, Senator Joanne Brown, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and certainly thank you to Ms. Rez for her wanting to serve on the Guam Historic Preservation Review Board. Certainly from her background, it sounds like a very, very good match. I did want to ask her in her service, was she aware of what has impacted the Preservation Trust Of course, many years ago, the architects of the Preservation Trust had created it with the intent of having a continuous source of funding and a board that would determine priorities in terms of what we needed to address in our history, what we needed to preserve and protect and manage. And I wanted to get her feedback because I was very surprised at coming back this term to find out that a substantial amount of the funding for the trust was taken away by previous legislature in a budget bill that had no public hearing or public engagement. That's pretty much in many ways limited the ability of the trust to act independently, to prioritize the projects that should be pursued and preserved, and then also be able to do the work. Pretty much while historic preservation is able to exist, it's not able to continue its mission as originally intended because of the impact almost half of its funding. So I wanted to get your thoughts, being appointed to this position, what your thoughts were and what your concerns are, if any, or what would you like to see happen with regards to the current situation so that the trust can really continue to do the work that it was intended to do and what it was created to do in the first place.
Thank you very much, Senator Brown. So I was able to witness a public hearing, and I was able to hear that, saddened that the budget was affected, and after your term was over. So apparently that's what happened along the way. I am going to. I'm saddened by it. I think that it is important to put priority into iconic and important landmarks. And I look forward to working with Senor Joe Kanata and the rest of the board in moving things forward so that our legislature and those in the government realize the importance of it, and in some way or another, bring it to the forefront so that we can continue the work of Guam Preservation Trust. It's important to always have something that represents and is tangible to everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, how old you are. And it's important that it is in place so that, especially in this day of technology, that people can surround themselves and touch and feel. And those visitors who come here, they'll be able to understand why Guam is rich in this kind of history. And so I hope that I'll have your confirmation so that I'll be able to work with members of the board and get guidance and get more educated in the processes of trying to restructure or rebalance financial situations. And so I thank you very much for that question. Right now I just look forward to being on the board and sharing my what I know, the blessings that have been bestowed upon me, and look forward to sharing with the rest of Guam and those people that control those things above us to prioritize, the things that represent the people of this island, the Chamorro people, so that we can live together with everybody else.
Well, Ms. Ruiz, I certainly appreciate your response. I mean, it's obvious to me your passion for, you're not just saying it, I can sense very much that you feel and believe very much in what you're saying. And I certainly look forward to your work with the board, because I think there's a lot of work to do. There's some time to make up and, priorities to set. And I agree with you. While people might look at these things of the past as not important, that we need to focus here and now, I really think that that's what provides us the foundation to build upon. So I'm very much an advocate, a very, very strong advocate for the Preservation Trust, because I've just seen in the past 30 plus years the incredible work that they've been able to do and been very successful at it. And the board itself has helped set that direction. And I hate to see projects become politicized or have to come before the legislature for appropriation, because we know how that goes. And that's not always a very, very good thing. I don't want to see our history messed up in all of that. So I certainly look forward to your work with the board. You certainly have my support. I mean, we've seen also the work of Joe and all the investment he's made with his heart and soul, all the years that he's invested in the Preservation Trust. And I think with all of you good people working together, hopefully that we can get the rest of our policymakers and the governor to realize and recognize that, you know, when something's working well in the government, sometimes you just need to leave it alone and keep your fingers out of it and let the good people do what they're doing and continue to do it. And we all see the benefits, but when we intervene and we take away and we try to modify it, look what happens. We've almost brought the Preservation Trust to a halt in terms of all the productive work that it's been able to do for the last 30 plus years. So I'm not the architect of the Preservation Trust, but I'm definitely a major supporter of it. So you certainly have my support for your confirmation hearing. And as I mentioned, I look forward to the work that you'll do. And thank you for your service to our people. Thank you very much. And thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to ask a question and comment.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Ms. Ruiz, I want to thank you for stepping forward to give yourself of this service towards our community, and also you are helping us and future generations to appreciate our culture more with the work that you've been doing, and we look forward to the work that you will continue upon your confirmation to the Guam Preservation Trust. So thank you very much to the Guam Historic Review Board. So thank you for giving of yourself towards this calling. We're very grateful. Thank you. Okay, I believe we have exhausted all the items on our agenda this evening. The time is now 18:51. Our office will continue to accept written testimony for the next 10 days, the next 10 working days, and they may be sent via email to Senator T.C. Nelson at guamlegislature.org or delivered to the office of Senator Telena Cruz Nelson at Suite 202 Alpha 173 Espinal Avenue, Hagatna, Guam 96910. And the recording of today's hearing will also be available on YouTube at the Guam Legislature website. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening and God bless you. And we look forward to confirming all of those that we listed today. Have a good day. God bless. Bye-bye.